Yo, what's good, everybody? Bren here. Been a few weeks since we did a stream. Here with my boy For Loco, by the way. Been a while since either of us have done a stream. Probably been 2 or 3 weeks. Had some friends come visit me. Did some traveling. Went to Chicago, um, and back home. Excited to get back into at least a couple streams a week. For now, Tuesday and Friday at 10 a.m. PST is what we're gonna do. Probably add in another Twitter space as well. But yeah, excited to get back into the streaming today. I'm with my boy For Loco. We're gonna talk about by the way, let me share my screen. We're going to talk about Bitcoin and ETH, where they're headed next, Pump token, and kind of this idea of this first double bull run, which is crypto and NFTs that I see happening, and a lot more. So definitely, if you guys are in the chat, I see some of you guys already commenting. We'd like to make these streams super interactive, so definitely we'll be looking at the chat, taking comments, questions, chopping it up with you guys. But before we get started and start talking about Bitcoin and all that good stuff, For Loco, how you doing, brother? It's been a while.
Yes, it's been way too long, man. I think the last few weeks I felt like a few months, if not more. We've seen pretty much everything happening in the markets, and even though it's August and things should be slow, I mean, we hit all-time highs, then we retraced, then we've seen our meme coins do pretty much everything from getting close to all-time highs to down significantly in the last few days, and NFTs are doing fantastic because of Ethereum treasury. So excited to be back and discuss, but I think the best is yet to come, and so I'm here for it.
Absolutely, brother. I agree. I do think the best is yet to come, and definitely see you guys in the chat. What's up, Rahman? What's up, Lucky? What's up, OOZZ? What's up, Andit Tiad? It's good to see you, a lot of you guys. A lot of people I recognize, a lot of new people as well. But yeah, I do think that that's a great point. I do think the best is yet to come. I did put out this tweet yesterday, kind of talking about how most people, when they see the Bitcoin chart right now, they just see 100 or 15K. Where's the tweet? 15K to 120K, whatever we reached um, in that 6 month, or I'm sorry, in that 3 year period. And they assume like that the top must be close, right? But I think it's important to really look at what's happened, especially in the last year. That's potentially has completely changed the game as far as the cycles go. Obviously, the ETF buyers, 401k, retirement funds, like these people are retail, a lot of them are your average people, but they have been trained long term to buy and hold with their 401k. They're not trading Bitcoin and ETH. The dynamics have completely changed as far as the buyers go. And then the price action is already different. Bitcoin, ETH, Sol are already showing signs of more sustainability where we'll go up for 6 months, but then correct for 4 or 5 months. And what I think this is allowing is for price to cool off without getting too euphoric. Like, I mean, we saw the past bull markets where ETH, Bitcoin, Sol, or Bitcoin and ETH just went up only for 2 years. And we saw what that caused, right? Just these big 80, 90% bear markets. But what we've seen in the last few years, really, that's kind of potentially has changed the game is these longer corrections to where, yes, Bitcoin has 10x in the last 3 years, but again, completely different dynamics in so many different ways that I think it is going to allow us to go up to those 150, 175, potentially 200K levels into 2026. Whereas a lot of people are probably expecting a top just because it's the 4 year cycle. So let me know what you guys in the chat are trading. You guys been accumulating like myself. Great coins. You've been kind of sitting on your hands. You've been trading perps. I wanna know what you guys have been up to. But yeah, that's kind of how I see Bitcoin right now. I think there's two. Well, I didn't really go over it yet, but I think there's two kind of scenarios in front of Bitcoin right now in the short term. Both of them lead to much higher prices, like I was saying. One is that we either go up from here and just keep going, or chop in this box for a while, for a few days, and then break all-time highs, or potentially, which I think is less likely here after this bounce, that we fail to break this all-time high and get something that looks similar to last month's correction, where we kind of retested the all-time high, came back down for one more low in the correction before moving higher. Either one of those, really, both of them lead to higher prices. I think this August bounce just shows that we're not incorrect. We're in corrective behavior. Whereas if we were getting a big reversal that we had to worry about, like a long-term reversal, it'd be looking a lot more impulsive and we'd just be going straight down right now. So I think what's more likely here is we probably just keep going, break all-time highs. We're already seeing ETH just absolutely fucking rip all-time highs day after day. And as you see here, we're reaching that $4,800 all-time high from 2021, which for Loco, I mean, 2 or 3 months ago, man, everybody not
Yeah.
only everybody was not only saying, this is probably never going to happen again, but in 2 or 3 months, it's there. It's already reaching 4,800. I want to hear what you have to say on this, but I think this 4,800 level, I've been pretty consistent on this, I think is going to act as a psychological barrier where a lot of people that have been in crypto for a while who have PTSD from ETH not reaching that all-time high are fully going to realize like, oh, fuck, it's going way higher. So again, I want to hear what you have to say, but I think ETH is just set up perfectly. For me, it was obvious months ago that it just set up perfectly to be the place where a lot of this TradFi, RWAs, DeFi, a lot of that stuff happens, because the Wall Street guys, they really value that ETH has never had any downtime. So yeah, it's just the regulatory clarity and everything that's happening institutionally wise. I think it's going to take ETH to 10,000 plus. A lot of people think it takes it to 20, 30, $50,000 someday because of how much stuff is going to be on chain. But I mean, for Loco, what are your thoughts on ETH and the short term and just going forward?
Can we just take a moment to realize back, I think it was in April, when everything was doom and gloom? And look, I'm going to put myself in this too, because I wasn't really a big believer of Ethereum. But you were saying that Ethereum was going to hit all time highs legally this year. And that was close to 1,500 Ethereum back when that happened. And we are here, pretty much 5 months after, and we're hitting all time highs without any issues and with, major major corporations like pretty much accumulating Ethereum like it's nothing. And you have Tom Lee, going into the news, CNBC yesterday putting $25,000 targets on Ethereum. Like, man, how the world changed so fast. It's just incredible to see. But first of all, I just want to make sure that we can clip some of those streams that we did, because you were mentioning this is the time to add. This is time to believe, and no one really believed you. So, kudos for that, brother. I think that was probably one of the best calls of the cycle by
Thank you,
far.
bro. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'd like to just stroke my ego and just say I'm some genius, whatever. But I think it was just obvious that, again, I say this a lot, and I think it's so important that most people like who come in and rightfully so, like just because of emotions and all that, like their sole focus or 90% of their focus lies on the last few weeks or the last few months of price action. And they really have a hard time in like zooming out. And I think that's why it's so important to have to like build a thesis on more than just price action. right? Like price action charts, like I look at charts for sure and I look at corrected behavior, but also I get really nerdy with this different stuff with meme coins or NFTs. Like you got to build a thesis for stuff that's deeper than just price action. That's the only way that you can be in early. Um,
Mhm.
and, and for me, it was just, again, the regulatory clarity, listening to people who are much smarter than me on these podcasts on Twitter and stuff, who kind of understand, these broader dynamics, like Max that we had on stream, that the
Mhm.
regulatory clarity and what it was going to allow for Wall Street and all these institutional guys to do for the first time, was going to benefit Ethereum, the chain, and then ETH, the token, the most. And it's just amazing to see it play out so quickly. And I think the upside for ETH is pretty scary in a world where the world is going on chain, where digital collectibles, DeFi, uh, what everything else is going to be on chain, mostly on Ethereum. It's crazy to see
Mhm.
where Ethereum can get. So yeah, I mean, I have much higher targets. I'm not selling any ETH for a while, and it's just exciting to see. And I think what this is going to unlock, which we'll talk about in a second, is a world where the other tokens, the DeFi coins and stuff are already moving, but memes, gaming, all this different stuff, and it's exciting to see. So yeah, I mean, great points, man.
Yeah. But it's just like what you mentioned is just so true. But when you think about it, it's like, whatever CT and everyone in crypto, like on a daily basis, UI and maybe the other few 100,000 people that are here every day, we really believe that things will go a certain way just because of we see the innovation from startups every other day and what happens, and from AI to layer ones to everything that comes up. But then comes TradFi and these massive institutions and capital allocators, and they don't give a crap what we have to think. Like if you think about it, like everyone was so buried on Ethereum because of L2s were taking or cannibalizing some of the activity on the chain. Everything was happening on Solana back then, and other faster chains like Sui and and other chains were coming up, and so people were like, okay, this is not going to go anywhere. In fact, this is, the better part of Ethereum as a technology is gone. And then comes like traditional finance allocators. They're saying, okay, we already have a massive amount of inflows on BTC, a bunch of ETFs that have allocated a percentage, and they will continue to allocate a percentage of their, whether it's pension funds or, hedge funds or other TradFi capital into Bitcoin related ETFs. But what is the number two second technology that hasn't really been, yet spread, in a way adopted, globally when it comes to traditional financial allocators and companies that like to accumulate crypto assets with the new regulations, right?
Yeah,
That's Ethereum by far the number two, right? With um, so what it comes down to is like, whether we like the technology or not, there's this massive bid of, or whatever thesis that these guys want to put into Ethereum. And the truth is, it does have a ton of like, the reasoning actually makes a lot of sense. But when you start to see the price go up, it starts to make even more sense, right?
yeah,
If the price were to go down, you were like, oh, the technology is done. But now you're
yeah,
seeing not just all this regulation, but all these institutions really building on Ethereum and betting
yeah.
on the chain. And just today, we had 1 billion in inflows on Ethereum. So it's just
Yeah, on the
definitely
ETF.
not. It's just incredible to see.
You're talking about the ETFs, right?
Yes,
Amazing.
ETFs.
Amazing.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, it's good to see too. I was listening today to this space and they was talking about how actually most of the ETF volume is like 60% retail. It's like a different kind of retail, like I'm saying, that are more like buy and hold, like older folks. But it is definitely interesting to see. We'll look at all that in a second. Somebody asked about Soul, and I know it's really kind of easy to pit these things against each other, even though I would never recommend doing that. I think we're entering a world like where crypto and digital assets are going to see so much adoption that there's more than enough room for a few dominant chains, to get a lot of block space demand, and therefore the tokens go up. So I would just really recommend not pitting these things against each other ever. They're going to move at different times. ETH probably outperforms the other two majors. With that being said, Sol looks very good right now, both on the charts and just like I said, I think there's just going to be such an influx of block space demand that the second biggest L1 in Sol, like I think it does really well. So, I think Sol surpasses 200 again soon, and then sky's the limit from there. So, Yeah, I think Sol in the short term, long term, it looks good from here. And maybe in the short term it'll have spurts where it outperforms ETH. Maybe in the short term here because whatever. But yeah, no, I'm not selling any Sol or rotating. For me, I'm extremely bullish on both, and I think both of them serve different purposes, and I think are both gonna do well in the next few years. Somebody says before we move on to something else, I do want to catch up on a few questions. If you guys could, before we do, I want to reset. If you guys are just coming in, welcome. We do these streams twice a week. Haven't been on for a couple weeks here now, but Tuesday and Friday at 10 a.m. PST, going to be consistent with those times. Potentially add in a Twitter space so we could have you guys up and chop it up with you guys too. But right now we're just talking about Bitcoin, ETH, Sol, and how I think even in the short term and medium term, we're going to go much higher from here. But if you guys have any questions, comments, anything that you want us to look at in a bit, definitely drop that in the chat. Daz says it's strange that we're pumping all summer when the really big players usually take the summer off. I think the main move will be at the end of the month, and I don't necessarily think. Yeah, usually August is pretty slow, and I mean it has been pretty slow until the last week, right? On crypto, and it's not always like that. But with that being said, I do think we get a more of an influx of TradFi capital, attention, marketing, all that stuff. Uh, when fall does come around. So I don't necessarily think it will be an upward one. You think we're gonna go down, Daz? I'd like to know why. But yeah, Brent is my favorite crypto sensei. I appreciate you, Joshua. Thanks for being on, man. September is the month to watch closely my perspective. Yeah, I think September is going to be really strong. For me, I think Q4, Q3, end of Q3, Q4 into Q1 are going to be really strong for both NFTs and crypto. We're definitely going to get into NFTs. If you guys definitely are NFT people, or there's any NFTs you've been trading or accumulating, definitely let me know in the chat as well. We're gonna look at that. As much as we talk about ETH being slow, it's still much faster than typical. Yeah, exactly. And it's the banks a typical wire or ACH or whatever takes days to clear, right? So I want to know about Uranus. Yeah, we'll look at Uranus for sure. But Sol, ETH, Bitcoin think go up in the short term. And and the medium term, again, next year we will see how euphoric things get. I think the memes, Bitcoin or any of the memes and the alts will always have these big boom and busts. At least the smaller ones, like under $1 billion. So I think taking profits on the way up on those is always good. But yeah, if you guys are just coming in, again, we're going to talk about memes, NFTs, and stuff. But if you guys could please retweet, comment on the stream. I am going to do a giveaway here after the stream for people in the comments of this original stream tweet here. 100 USDC to 2 different people. So appreciate you guys for supporting. Definitely follow myself for Loco. Again, for Loco is actually the person who got me in his stream. So super excited to get back with him on that. And then check out the Boss Man Calls Telegram channel. I know a lot of you guys are already in there. But that's where I post a lot of my in-depth, kind of longer thoughts on the market, tips and tricks, tutorial videos, stuff like that. So if you haven't checked that out, definitely do that. But yeah, with that being said, for Loco, treasury companies have kind of become a really big narrative since we were on stream last. With Tom Lee becoming at least from his holdings of Bitminer, whatever, is the largest holder of Ethereum now, with 1% plus of the supply. Absolutely crazy. And I think this whole narrative is pretty crazy. I know a lot of people probably saw it coming. But a lot of people. It's crazy that this treasury narrative wasn't more obvious. That happened with Bitcoin. It's happening now with ETH, and I don't think it's stopping. A lot of people think it'll be, there's risk, but I think as long as you're not using leverage, this is going to have the same effect. At least with the big ones that it did with Bitcoin and MicroStrategy. And with ETH, they can stake it. They can get yield with it. A lot of different things that they can do with it. So it's definitely insane. I expect, just from what I'm reading and from experts, that this will probably continue and obviously be a huge catalyst to propel ETH upwards, not just in the short term, but in the long term as well. I mean, what are your thoughts on everything going on with Tom Lee and just the treasury companies?
No, it's super exciting, man. Tom Lee and Joe Lubin, they're single-handedly pretty much driving Ethereum to all-time highs, and I mean, they just I think Bitmine Immersion, BMNR, they bought 2 billion worth of Ethereum this week. It's insane. I mean, just think about it, right? Like, no one wanted to touch Ethereum in April, and now there's a massive bid on Ethereum that is just incredible to see. And I mean, yesterday was one of those days that everyone was de-risking, so we saw actually Bitcoin dominance go up. But now again, you're seeing Bitcoin dominance go down, and I think that's the trend we're going to be seeing for the rest of the year. Whether Bitcoin goes up or not to all-time highs, I think what matters is what's the appetite of investors and speculators and traders when it comes down to crypto. Are you going to just like keep your chips on Ethereum and Bitcoin, or ideally you're going to be able to rotate some of those profits, or go down the risk curve? And for us that we live in this small world of CT and crypto tokens, we expect that the second or the latter is what happens, right? Is that some of this capital and these profits get distributed to other tokens, right? And whether those are like ecosystem tokens, right? And you're seeing some memes do well on Ethereum. You're also seeing some DeFi apps like related DeFi like Athena and all these ones actually performing pretty well when it comes to yield or just DeFi related for Ethereum. And hopefully the same happens with Solana. Like maybe you're right. Maybe that's a trade that maybe it's not this year or maybe later this year, but at some point we see another treasury company for Solana. I mean, if I had to think about a third coin, I would see aside from Link is one of those that you buy, but I don't know if you create a treasury for it. But if I had to bet on another L1 or other token that will be accumulated by TradFi, will be Solana, because it was heavily invested back in the day in 20. I think it was like the first cycle was last cycle by VC investors from Silicon Valley to other areas. So I would imagine that would happen. But I think right now it's ETH time, and you can't go against it. So I think again, what I mentioned before, the best is yet to come, because we don't really know what can happen. I mean, if these guys and these companies keep accumulating, we know what happened when Bitcoin first announced this ETF in, I think it was January 2020. Was it 2024? Yeah, it was December 23, January 24. It went from like 30,000 all the way to 60, 70,000, back down, and then all the way all time highs, right? And that's just been pretty much a nonstop bid from traditional finance, and you can see how much capital they have. And they don't really give a crap what we think about cycles. And that's something that we probably should discuss too, Brent, is what do we think of cycles now? Do we think the cycles are broken? Do we think that, at some point we'll see some sort of correction, and how much of a correction, right? Because if you're seeing every 10, 15, 20%, it's pretty much a relentless bid on Bitcoin. And I think it's happening the same with Ethereum. So we probably have to discuss that if we really even think that cycles are here to play in
Yeah,
the way that we believe they
for
will do
sure.
so.
Yeah, no,
So
I want to bit over it. Went over it a bit at the top of the stream, where I think it could go either way. I think in the short term, I think into 25 and end of 25 into 26, we do have a strong period. From there, I think it's possible if things do get really crazy. I think we're eventually going to get a top on the memes and alts, where they're always going to have major corrections when Bitcoin corrects. As far as Bitcoin and ETH, if we get a 50% correction, plus percent correction again, who knows? It could happen, but I think if it does happen, it's likely to be after a large run up, a large mania like we saw in 2017 and 2020, and then from there, another tweet that I put out yesterday. I think what possibly could go down is we go up. Kind of everybody's expecting the 4-year cycle to play out. Where around into next year that we somehow top. But I think it's possible we run up into the mid 2026. People are like, oh shit, this 4-year cycle is over, everything goes absolutely nuts, and then we see that major bigger top, macro top or whatever. But who knows? That's not even guaranteed. For me, I think what's tried and true for me, especially on those memes and alts, is to have a profit taking system set up to where, yes, if we are in the later stages where everything's euphoric, maybe you take profits more aggressively, but having a profit taking system set up ahead of time, whether we're in the beginning of the cycle or the end of the cycle, to where if this coin goes to this certain level, I'm taking this certain percentage off. That's what eliminates the emotions, eliminates the greed and the human, whatever out of it. And that's just kind of what works best for me. So great points
Yeah.
there. As far as Bitcoin dominance, you make some great points. I do think, again, it kind of tagged this upper side of this kind of upward slanting channel that I had. Went a little bit lower than I thought it would, but yeah, breaking
Wait,
down lower.
I think you're saying your. Are you saying your screen? Oh, there you go. There you go.
Yeah,
I
my
couldn't
bad.
see it.
But yeah, it tagged the upper top of this channel, coming down, breaking down below here. I think it is probably going to break lower. Who knows? It could be less impulsive and more choppy, but I do think this does unlock that period for the next 3, 6,
Mhm.
9 months where alts and heavily ETH. That's what Bitcoin dominance is really measured heavily against. Is ETH is just going to explode, I think, which then unlocks ETH memes and NFTs to really run. So I'm super excited to talk about NFTs today too for Loco. But yeah, that's kind of how I see it playing out. I think Bitcoin dominance, I do agree with you, probably does continue to trend down from here. Could have some bounces because I do think the wild card here, or what people aren't really expecting, is that the US has really been teasing for a while about how they're trying to find ways to accumulate Bitcoin. And I
Mhm.
think other countries are going to do that. Who knows? There might be a country announced tomorrow that says we're taking a huge position in Bitcoin, which could cause like a pullback to the upside on Bitcoin dominance. But I do agree over the next 6, 9 months to a year, I do think Bitcoin dominance continues to trend down. But yeah, to have
Yeah.
Tom Lee, top holder of Ethereum already, 1%. Um, Definitely exciting. Let's go ahead and look at Pump Token. I don't know. I don't think you played it at all, right, for Loco since it came
You
out.
know, I actually had a little trade from the bottom, but I gotta be honest, I didn't hold the way up, but I bought it from, I think it was from 2200. Sorry, it was 2.1, and then I sold it around close to 2.9, right at the three mark, and I think now it's close to four. No, so it's incredible.
Yeah,
I'm talking about market cap, yeah. So I did make a fairly successful trade when but it was not. I didn't want to hold it just because the uncertainty around the team and token. But now it looks like they have 70% market cap again. No market cap, sorry, market share.
yeah.
And there was some thought going on with Bonk. So, but you tell me because I know you've been more involved in it than I have, for sure.
Yeah, no, that's yeah. So on the way, to kind of summarize, on the way when it came out, on that initial kind of run up, started accumulating spot and then accumulated a long position, kind of right at the bottom. What's up? I think I'm sharing my screen now. Okay. Oh no, I'm not trying to share the chart. Anyway, um, the I probably actually I'll show the chart. So yeah, around here, started accumulating long position, went up, took me out at break even or like a small win, and then just accumulated on the way down. To me, of course, the pump team kind of went silent on this way down. Everybody was like, "Oh, they just raised that $1 billion to whatever, to fuck off and do whatever." But to me, I just, from what I've realized, and it's just a common theme in these streams, you'll hear me say over and over again, but it's so true. The only thing, memes are a little bit different. It's more about the community and stuff like that. But when it comes to these tech coins or NFTs or anything, the number one thing that matters is the operators or the core team behind it and their ability to, number one, garner attention, like bring attention to the coin in whatever way, and then use their resources effectively. And as we know, Pump Fund raised $1.2 billion or whatever, maybe more. They have hundreds of millions of dollars in SOL that they've raised from the fees. You just got to ask yourself, like, what was more likely? Is Pump going to just fuck off from here, just completely take shit from everybody forever, or are they going to attempt to build something and use just a small fraction of their resources to actually make this like something to massive? And to me, that was just a no brainer, right? You see any interviews with Elon he's done, whatever you could be whatever you want to think about him. Like the guy's super ambitious and he has a bigger vision for this thing. So for me, it was just a no brainer, right? We saw this accumulating as well for 9 days here. That was, to me, was just a kind of the final like icing on the cake. So I was buying all the way down. And I'm not taking any profits till 0.005. I personally think with good meme coin conditions, with the influx of capital that I think is coming, the buybacks they're doing, them supporting the ecosystem, I could see this going to 5 to 10 billion easily. Again, being a huge infrastructure piece in all of crypto and especially Solana. So yeah, to me, it was a no-brainer. And going forward, I think it's going to go way higher. Um, and I think they're doing 100% buybacks of their revenue right now from the app, or like a high percentage. So I think all of this is just the perfect storm for Pump to just rip back to all-time highs and kind of just do what Pengu did, but on a more accelerated basis.
Yeah, I think it's good that they came back and addressed all the FUD. And the truth is, whether they did what they did back in the day, they call them structures because they saw a lot of Solana back then. Look, at the end of the day, when you have so much mindshare in crypto, it only takes one good action to really change people's. You know how people forget about things so quickly. I literally in CT, when there's a new trend or a new meta, they normally last like a few weeks and then the people forget about it, right? So it only takes literally a good action from Alon and team to really change the perspective, and you're seeing it already on the chart, right? They're buying back. I think they're going to also utilize a part of the treasury or the cash that they have to deploy into pump fund tokens. I think that's they should do the ecosystem memes that made them successful, right? And support the economy that the community and the users that way. Because at the end of the day, what you want, as a marketplace or social media, whatever they're trying to build, you want your users to always be happy and come back to your platform, right? And I think that they lost that when they had that kind of like mindset of just like pretty much and it was like corporate like, even though they didn't really have a lot of employees, but they
Yeah.
really acted more revenue focus, profit focus versus really giving back like Hype did in the beginning, and even Bonk I think it did at the beginning as well with the profit sharing and buying back. So excited to see what's coming up. And as you mentioned, they have all the capital in the world. They have the mindshare, so they just have to you know moderately execute. They don't really even have to do an incredible job executing. They just have to moderately execute and not do anything stupid. And I
Yeah.
think the tokens will go back to all-time highs in no time, probably by the end of the year, if not earlier. So
Yeah. No, I wouldn't be surprised. Usually when these things pick up, they pick up quickly. So shout out to Dano. What's up, brother? You said thoughts on coin. Yeah, we'll look at that right now too. Just I'll look at that for you. Um, let's see, which coin is it? Coinbase stock. Oh, duh, my bad. Coinbase.
mhm.
I haven't looked at Coinbase in a few weeks. I want to talk about Base app and what they're doing here coming up in a few minutes, but
I
Base.
bought a bit of Coinbase last week. It actually hit. It went right under $300. I got it around 295, 300, and I've been adding. I think there was obviously a lot of fun, and it's just not with this Coinbase, but in general. And so in that last dip, I added a little bit of it. So I'm excited to see that it's rebounding. The same I've been trying to add Circle, but it's still a little bit expensive from my perspective. USDC. I think around that 120, $100 mark. I would like to add a little bit of Circle USDC. But I did buy some Coinbase, so I don't know if anyone asked about it, but I
Yeah,
think it will continue to up. Yeah.
Dano. Yeah, Dano did ask about it, so that's good. Yeah, Dano. I think Base at all time highs. Usually, it doesn't matter what we're trading, like Bitcoin, fucking crypto, NFTs. Usually, you're going to see a big reaction at all time highs of anything. Very rarely is something just sliced right through. I think, just simply put, Coinbase is going to track the performance of Bitcoin as far as direction wise and the rest of the crypto market, but maybe with a lot more. I don't know. It also has the tech side. I just pretty much in short, I expect Coinbase again to move higher in over the next few years. It probably becomes one of the most influential stocks in the S&P 500, if I had to guess, because again, how much influential crypto is going to be on TradFi, and I think it's going to continue. I think Rect Mondo, which I want to play a clip from him here in a second, when it pertains to NFTs, he said for the first time, it's like cool thing in the stock market or in the equities world or the TradFi world to be involved in crypto, where anytime a stock or a company announces something crypto wise, it's like moving the needle, right? So I expect Coinbase, like the top crypto stock, with crypto moving up, with the stock market also having a good macro, uh, positive macro environment. I do think Coinbase is just going to continue to rip. And these are the times you want to accumulate on these dips, right? Instead of when everything's going up. So Coinbase looks good. Who, of course, who knows what happens in the very short term, but I think probably a good bet long term. Brent, what would you be the best outcome for Bitcoin and Sol right now? The best outcome, of course, it would just be continue to rip. We get a phase where I think is coming regardless, where we're going to get a mania phase where I think the retail probably enters for the first time. Retail, I mean like your average person. You hear your Uber driver, your mom, your fucking friends, everybody talking about crypto again. But this time around, we have regulatory clarity and guidelines that actually allow founders to build cool shit, right? So I think we're going to get a mania phase. I think the best case scenario, though, would be if we just took off from here and everything just cooked for months straight, right? But either way, man, I think everything's looking really good. And into the end of the year, I think the great coins and all the good niches are going to do well. I want to get into memes right here in a second after we get to these questions. He said, I have a good friend who got XRP months ago at all-time high and got scared on correction, asking if he should sell. The fear was visible, and I think being confident and patient. Uh, yeah. So to me, it just with crypto, it's just so much easier to have a longer term horizon on things, and of course, you can't do that with everything. But I think XRP personally has a narrative with TradFi and just a really cult like community in the retail world, like with your friend. So obviously everybody's different. Everybody has their goals. Maybe he put in money he needed to pay rent or something. But other than that, I would tell him to start having more belief and taking longer time horizons and being more patient. Because I think XRP is going to rip a lot higher. But either way, you can't be stressing short term price action. And if you are, you're usually just like over invested. So I think XRP rips higher from here, though. You saw Swift got rugged. Yeah, that's crazy, man. They rug troll to 270 million. They keep rugging us. Yeah. Yeah, these newer
Yeah,
coins,
it's
you got to take profits on the way
from
up.
my perspective, it's increasingly getting more and more difficult to really bet on these tokens, and that's the reason why a lot of people I think in CT are so bearish or like calling the top. It's because most people don't really have access to the tokens that are running, right? Like, when you look at CT, that most of them don't really hold Ethereum or Bitcoin, right? They're in lower down the risk curve because they want to hit those 10, 20, 50 x's. And in most cases, you are seeing that those tokens continue to outperform. And like you said, Brand, when everything goes high, and as you saw today from the reaction from CPI, we haven't really talked about macro, but stocks were up right after they kind of like pretty much announced that inflation was pretty much untamed, pretty much unchanged, right? So there was no inflation after all the tariffs that happened over. I mean, no inflation changes after all the tariff situation that happened over the last few months. And then the Fed now, I guess the poly market is pointing at like close to 95% chance of a September rate cut, right? So stocks were up right after, crypto, of course. And so what looked like a the risking yesterday, it really has become really a buying opportunity, and almost always is when we
Yep.
have these dips, pre CPIs or pre Fed meetings, that you cannot panic. But coming back to the point is, it just feels like most most people that are involved in crypto on a daily basis don't really have any exposure to these majors that are outperforming, and so there seems to be, and I think ever since like that dip, major crash we had at the beginning of the year, that people are exhausted, right? They feel like, oh, it has to be close to the end of the cycle. It's because the cycle hasn't really played out as the previous one, right? So, oh, it's the fourth year of the bull market, right? Every fourth year, it's extreme price moves, and then we crash. So I feel like there's a lot of exhaustion and anger, because most people are sidelined. But it
Yeah.
doesn't mean that the cycle is by any means close to be done. And by what we saw last week, with this major accumulation of Ethereum, I would say that we are nowhere near close from to the top of the cycle from my understanding. But could be different for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree. Somebody asked, when you think market cap for pump, are you referring to FDV? I'm referring to market cap. When I say 10 billion, I think the market cap itself. I don't know the unlock schedule. I think it's over the next few years. But to answer your question, I'm talking market cap. I think it gets to 10 bill. I think it easily does a five. What would that be like? Not even a, yeah, like a 6x from here. Again, just the perfect storm of market conditions improving, and then just the ability for them to create attention around the coin, which they're already doing. I think it's just going to send it way higher, man. And a lot of the TradFi investors that I think are coming in are going to value stuff like revenue and all this good stuff. But yeah, no, I think what we're leading into right now is we're going to hit a tipping point with Bitcoin, ETH, Sol. I had my friend DM me. I'm not going to say any names. Like, just telling me, oh yeah, like Bitcoin, or sorry, ETH is at 4,800 right now. Isn't it super concerning that the memes haven't run up yet? And I straight up would just say no. I mean, in fact, it's actually kind of right on point with these past cycles where we'll get Bitcoin and ETH moving up, and then liquidity flows into the lower cap stuff. But generally, I would just say, if you're worried, your coins are down, but ETH is going up. If you really have conviction in these coins, I would say don't chase the ETH pump. I think it's great to have a portfolio with the investor bucket with most of your portfolio in ETH, Bitcoin, and Sol anyways. So you're getting that exposure. But don't necessarily just sell all your bags just because they're not moving yet. In fact, this is the time where I've been accumulating more of that stuff because I know we're going to eventually, probably pretty soon here, as fall hits and the good conditions improve. I think we're gonna hit a time where we're gonna hit a tipping point where all of a sudden where everybody, it's clear, like, fuck, we're in a full blown bull market, not just for Bitcoin, ETH, and Sol, but for memes. So that's how I'm playing it. Whether it
Yeah,
takes 2 weeks, a month, whatever, I think we're going to hit that tipping point to where obviously the great memes. I think the biggest bang for your buck, to me at least, that's where most of my portfolio is ETH, Bitcoin, Sol, the majors and stables about 30%, and then I still have 20 to 25% of my portfolio, a good chunk of that, in the MOG, SPX, Giga, ticker Bitcoin lock in, because I think those are memes are going to continue to be the biggest thing, or one of the biggest things. And those are set up to where they're down, 50, 60, 70%, and have that upside to sustain the 5, 10, 15 plus billion market caps. So I think that's where you're going to get the biggest bang for your buck. But with that being said, we're already seeing the DeFi stuff running. We're seeing creator coins, which I want to talk a bit about that. We're seeing a bunch of other stuff running. I think we're going to enter that mania phase where the great coins and all these different narratives, or a quote unquote alt season, is going to happen. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on that, for real quickly before we
yeah,
move
I
on?
agree, man. And I also encourage the audience to look, look beyond meme coins, right? Because we meme coins, and again, everything just like goes down the risk curve. Like NFTs, were completely forgotten last year, and this year they've been outperforming. Part of it is because most NFTs are actually on Ethereum, right? So when you look at someone that is wealthy on Ethereum or has a big position on Ethereum, what is the next thing you buy? And so you buy yield like Athena. You also buy RW assets like maybe perhaps like Maple. You have even Link, right? You can buy. But then you go down the risk curve, right? And so meme coins is one of them. And of course, I agree that the top three meme coins are going to do fantastic. You mentioned some of those: SPX, MOG, even Rec. It's a smaller one, but it's been incredibly, outperforming
Not
most of
so
the
small
ETH.
anymore, man. Damn, this shit's at what, like 300 fucking million? It's up there. It's
No, no,
crazy.
no. It's 500 million actually. It's 400.
500. Nuts.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, admittedly, before you continue, like wrecked, I
Yeah.
I I had a wrecked guy, I have a wrecked guy, and I think I did get a little bit from there, and I still have. Sorry, that was me. I did have a bit here, but dude, admittingly, like I just did not buy enough, or really at all, and we haven't talked about it a lot on this stream. But I think this is just kudos to those guys, man. Freaking 500 million. I really do think uh, their crypto native brand that kind of launched a product, but I think we're going to see a lot of already existing brands or new brands launch a token around a product line. I think these guys are pioneering like something that's going to be absolutely massive. And I actually want to play this clip really quick by Rect Mondo, actually, now that we're doing that. That kind of goes over his thoughts on how um, it's now suddenly attractive to be involved in crypto and how potentially a public company may launch a token in the next year, which potentially by investing in it, buying an already existing NFT company. So I'm going to play a little bit of this real quick.
Token in the next 12 months.
You think we'll see a publicly?
And it hasn't. I think if you can pitch a good IP with a consumer products play or something along those lines, you can do the most with a token you ever could. I actually think we will see a publicly listed company create a token in the next 12 months.
You think we'll see a publicly?
And it hasn't yet.
We'll see a publicly traded company create a token next 12 months. Whoa.
Either they'll do it themselves or they'll do it via acquisition. They'll buy an existing token play.
Who gave that take? That take, the first time I'd heard it was a week ago with Spencer Ventures. Said this. What
we
is
were
that?
talking about this live on the show like 2 weeks ago. It was a very similar sort of chat about this.
Explain the take. Like what do you foresee happening, and then what are the second order effects?
I think that you're gonna. Right now, you could obviously Spencer's saying this sort of stuff, right? Because it's very easy for him to get bought or to create a token and then get bought. But let me just do a thought experiment with like Pudgy or Rect, right? Let's say a big content company, one of the biggest ones out there, buys Pudgy. Where do you think that goes right now? Probably 5 to 10 billion, I would reckon. Like, and then they can do so much with the IP, and suddenly then you have this. Oh wow, a proper Fortune 500 companies come in and is willing to take on the risk of a crypto coin right now because.
What'd you say? Okay, perfect. But yeah, so as you guys can see here, Mondo kind of theorizes that potentially a public company will launch a coin. And by token, he doesn't mean a like tokenized version of their stock or anything. He means like an actual token, like aside from equity, kind of like a meme token or any of these things. And that's what I've been saying for a bit here, that I think Pengu and Rect, they're a little bit different from each other, but especially Pengu is pioneering something that's not only going to be big. We're already seeing all the NFT brands launch coins, but I think Fortune 500 companies or big companies, might take a bit, are going to launch tokens around brands, because tokens allow people to bootstrap brands, gives people exposure and upside to them. People who have financial upside to things are the ultimate brand and marketing and billboard for whatever it is. And I think this is going to be a new model, and it's exciting to see Rect do it. You know, maybe Rect gets bought out by a big company and they do it. Who knows how it plays out? But if and when one of these big companies does launch a token, especially if they buy an NFT company, the thing that's going to do for both NFTs and just the public perception of launching tokens is just so massive. I think we're entering a world where launching a coin, whether it be through being a creator, through a brand, all this stuff is going to become so normalized and not taboo like it is now. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, what do you think about that, for Loco? What do you think if a brand were to launch a token, like a Fortune 500 company or a public company we all know of? What do you think that would do? And especially if they brought an NFT brand, what do you think that would do for tokenization? For Loco? Damn, you might have. Okay, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, there's an echo of me.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, I think it's massive, man. I think we already saw a few months ago how they try to bring the equal, I guess, on chain stocks, right? Like whether you're buying to whether that is 100% accurate or the oracle behind that is on Solana is not accurate. We're already seeing the appetite and the interest of investors to really have tokenized stocks, tokenized companies, right? So I do think that whether it's I think it's Pengu or Pudgy Penguins or Rect or any other brands, I think creator brands will soon be able to to be traded in public markets, right? And also have the ability to to have a token that equals equity. I think right now with
I don't know. I think we lost you for Loco. Oh yeah, I just noticed I'm showing a fucking Hall of Mirrors right here. Give me 1 second. But for Loco, if you can hear me, you can chime in whenever you get back on. But yeah, I think if and when a public company does launch a token, it's just going to be massive. I think again, brands inside and outside of NFTs are going to launch tokens around brands, which is really going to mobilize fans and give people. I just think it's going to be the next big thing. Any thoughts on if we get another entry for the coins like
Right.
today
Can you
as
hear
well?
me?
Again, super short term for Loco. You back?
I believe so.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I don't know where I cut off, but I was saying that I believe creator tokens are coming. I guess in short, this is already happening with major stocks, and I believe that as we go down, I guess think about BC right now. The ability for investors to participate in venture capital deals is extremely difficult. Yes, you can participate through platforms like I guess multiple equity rounds you can participate through existing platforms, but for the best deals or for the best platforms, that tends to be a reserve space. So if you are able to, for smaller companies, to able to tap into capital worldwide, pretty much through a creator token or through a Web3 based company that wants to access global capital, I think it's massive. So excited to see it play out, whether it's Pudgy Penguins or Rect or any other brand, but I think it's definitely coming.
Yeah, no, that would be nuts. I don't know if Pudgy and I know he was just using an example, but I don't even know if Luca or any would even be willing to be acquired. But imagine if like a Disney or one of these guys just acquired one of these, and I'm sure I can for Luca. There's an echo, bro. I'm sure a lot of the communities, if they were to ever sell to like Disney or something, they'd be initially kind of mad. Who knows how that'd play out? But I think initially for the coin, if like Pengu or Pudgies were to be bought out by like a Disney or whatever, would do a lot for the space and just like what's it called? A lot for the exception and adoption of tokens. But as far as the CME gap, for me, to answer your question, I see the CME gaps. Definitely look at them, time to time, but I don't really factor them into my analysis because oftentimes, first of all, like CME gaps, yes, they close more than 50% of the time, right? But there's plenty of gaps that have never filled. I could show you gaps on NVIDIA and all these places from the 90s that have never filled. Oftentimes we'll see them go right before the gap or right and just never fill. Yes, usually they fill, but with that being said, I don't think there's really much signal just because of gaps there, especially in the short term. It just really doesn't tell you much. So I look at them, and yes, if there is a gap around an area that I think is another level, yes, that's another added level of confluence. But I don't really base any trades or directional bias on gaps too much. With that being said, do I think we go down more? It could go either way, brother. Again, like I said, it could go either way where we just chop for a bit and then head higher from here. If it breaks lower and it's clear that we've rejected here, it's possible also that we get just like June 10th of this year where we come down one more time. Either way, I think just being patient and just understanding that over the next few months that we're setting up to go way higher on not just Bitcoin, but the other great coins and memes and all that good stuff. I think that's just what I'm keeping in mind, right? Very short term, who knows? Nobody knows what's going to happen in the very short term. Hey, Arcoin, what do you think of Epic? We'll look at Epic. ETH is running. Random point: if you're an astronomy believer, which signifies a move towards intellectual, interesting. What's Total 3 saying? Total 3 is already breaking a new all-time highs, and I think that's just showing that memes and alts and all that stuff are coming. Something big is coming. I can feel it. Yeah. Hey, Arcane here. What do you think of Lofi is pumping? Oh, is Lofi pumping? Nice. To me, just generally, I think the memes are going to be big, right? Memes are going to continue to be the thing in crypto that new people enter. And I think Sui, a top 3 chain, right? L1, and the top memes on the top 3 L1 chain, I think are going to do well, right? So I would think Lofi, just for that reason alone, probably has a resurgence. But let's look at it right now.
Is Lofi on Sui?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I'll probably go along with Sui, and I know Sui is actually performing very well lately.
Yeah,
So
for sure. Yeah,
one of the
no.
best performing tokens.
Oh, yeah. And also that had that CEDAS hack or whatever with the top decks on Sui got hacked. That's kind of what
Mhm.
caused this short-term dip. But yeah, no, it looks good. I assume once Sui starts heading up that I think Lofi continues higher. I still have a pretty big bag of Lofi as well, back from when we called it in the channel before like 10, 20x. I do think it probably does head higher, and it does look pretty corrective on the higher time frames. I do want to talk NFTs though, but generally meme coins. We can go over some of the meme coins you guys like here in a bit, but I think for me, I've just kept it simple. Over the last few months, whenever Bitcoin and ETH are correcting, I'm accumulating these top meme coins that I love. Giga SPX is already up, so I haven't been buying that as much. Heavily Giga, a lot of lock in, a lot of Bitcoin. Had House Coin and USDUC were some of my bigger plays that have exploded here. Took some profits on that. But typically, I think those cult like meme, a lot of things are going to run, right? Pretty much a lot of stuff. We might even see a rebound in the AI coins, but I think the coins that have the best risk to reward, that have been through these crashes before, but also have 10, 20, 30x potential, a lot of these are those cult like meme coins that are still down 50 to 90%. The Giga SPX MOGs, ticker Bitcoins. I think it just comes down to, again, the time in the game. And these communities are just positive, optimistic people who create content and continue to go during these bear markets. And I think those are the ones that win when everything's are good. Not the communities that are fair weather and just come back when everything's are good. The people that are like really building and not really giving a fuck about price, right? And a lot of people claim to do that, but there are the SPX Giga Mog, ticker Bitcoin lock in, like they really embody that. So I think those coins are 5, 10, 20, 30x potential here from still here. And those are the ones I've been focusing on. But yeah, I do think we're going to see a crypto gaming resurgence, a lot of stuff, which we'll talk about as they sprout up. But a lot of great questions, Dostoevsky today, honestly. Do you think crypto
Yeah.
would be more regulated before a public company issues a token? There could be a lot of scams and newcomers fall into trap. So a lot of what's already been laid out with the Clarity bill from last month has laid out a lot of classifications for tokens. But what Project Crypto, if you look into that, Dostoevsky by the SEC, is going to do a few things. Lay out, and this is being talked about right now. This is like already in action. Is going to classify all these different token types, the NFTs, the crypto, the memes. And the biggest thing is they're supposed to separate them from the antiquated security laws that are everybody's been scared of for crypto, and kind of separate these things as digital assets and not securities. And I think just the signaling alone from the SEC dropping all of these cases and pretty much saying that we want crypto to thrive in the country, I think anybody who's not doing fraud or deceit or anything like that are kind of getting the message. And that's the biggest thing, is a signaling, right? With that being said, there is a lot of stuff being actually etched out on the bills and all that stuff. Again, look up Project Crypto and all that. But I think the biggest thing that's going to has companies planning and probably planning coins right now is the SEC and Trump and all these different regulatory places saying, as long as you're not doing fraud and deceit, we want you to be able to build in the United States and thrive, so that the America could be the capital of Web3 and crypto. So yes,
Mhm.
yeah, I think it's both. I think there's already a lot of the work that's been done, but of course there needs to be more stuff in the bills. But with that being said, a lot of the stuff that's being done is allowing these founders to already to do some of these things. It's a great question.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and thanks, Dostoevsky, for the questions. I think you've been bringing heat questions to the show, and we appreciate everyone that asks questions. That of course, we're gonna be looking at meme coins that you guys like, but there's way more to crypto than that. So if you have any other questions, like Dostoevsky, or even like we've had a few other guys ask great questions, please feel free to post in the chat, and we'll try to respond as soon as possible.
Hell yeah. Somebody asked about Uranus before. I want to talk about NFTs, but Uranus. Uh, so Uranus is tricky because it's a sideways consolidation, right? And sideways consolidations oftentimes, more often than not, lead to at least some type of reversal. I mean, like just what we saw on Bitcoin a few weeks ago, when before it came down. Um, it consolidated here for what was it, 2 weeks, and then came down. Oftentimes, consolidation like of weeks or several days is going to see some type of reversal. With that being said, sometimes consolidation does end up being corrective as well. So I really would just be watching this low here on Uranus, which just sounds crazy, by the way. But fucking watch this low on Uranus, and if it breaks below 45, it could do a longer term reversal, which could be corrective. Again, could be something like Bitcoin's doing now, where it continue like is obviously corrective, and then that's it. But again, consolidation of 2 or 3 weeks plus is definitely something to be watching. And if it does break below this low, it is possible that does see a bigger reversal. And at that point, if you really believe in the coin, that's the time you probably want to be accumulating. But to be honest, I don't know too much about Uranus. There's a lot of polarizing opinions. A lot of people, I've heard a lot of both sides. So I personally don't have a bag and don't know too much about it. But just generally, if it does break that low there and you do believe in it, that's the time you probably want to accumulate. But yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Uranus, brother. Any updates on BB? Mind blowing days ahead. Yes, man. 1K views. If you got in the chat, let's share the stream. Appreciate you, Soul. Yeah, if you guys could, if you guys are just coming in, we're just talking memes. Going to talk NFTs here in a second. But if you guys could reshare, comment, bookmark, all that good stuff, definitely appreciated when everybody does that. We're going to continue to be back on the streams Tuesdays and Fridays, 10 a.m. PST. Have a few guests lined up actually for next week. Gonna definitely have some people on as well. But just be talking our thoughts on the market, telling you guys what we're doing, hearing from you guys. Again, a huge part of this stream I love to have is have it super interactive. You guys are half of the stream. We wouldn't be here without you guys. So if you guys have any questions, comments, tell us what you're trading in the chat. You chilling? Are you buying NFTs, crypto? What do you think? You think we're near a top? You think crypto goes much longer? I want to hear what you guys are thinking in the chat as well. But yeah, I want to talk about NFTs for Loco because I know. Tell me if I'm wrong. I know a lot of what you've done in crypto. I know you probably dabbled in crypto before NFTs, but a lot of the connections you made and a lot of your crypto journey is heavily based in NFTs in the first 2021 run. So, I mean, I have my thoughts. I'm very opinionated on where I think lately, where I think NFTs are. I think personally we're entering the first double bull run. That's why I titled the stream this. The first double bull run where crypto and NFTs are going to run simultaneously, really fueled again by the regulatory clarity, a lot of stuff going on. I think NFTs are going to have that second bull run where, yes, there will be a mania phase, but what we're going to see is a lot of these IP plays, the VeeFriends, which is my biggest one, obviously the Apes, Pudgies, really propel into the mainstream. A lot of them become some of the biggest brands and companies off the back of digital assets becoming big. I think assets in general, like trading cards are huge. Just collecting in general is huge. I think NFTs are just in the perfect storm right now with conditions. And I think in 2025, similar to my crypto thesis, I think in 2025, 2026, potentially into 2027, we see a huge move up in the kind of three areas, right? The IP plays, the Pudgies, Apes, VeeFriends, stuff like that. Digital art, I think, is going to be huge with CryptoPunks, and then meme coin NFTs, which we'll talk more about here. I'm just extremely bullish. I've been accumulating mostly VeeFriends. Again, I put out this tweet yesterday about, I've talked about VeeFriends a lot on the stream here and talked about how I'm a top 10 holder in both collections. But first time, I put out this tweet, about accumulated 33 VF1s, 140 Series 2s, over 250K invested. And I really do believe that, again, NFTs are going to have a huge run. And then the biggest runners are those IP plays with great operators. I'm just a huge believer in Gary Vee, and not only Gary Vee, but which is the most important thing, the operator, but the actual IP itself, the characters and the ability to with the traits and the positive impact that I believe will have on the world. Something like VeeFriends, which is still at 1.3 ETH, I think it's just there's just so many great opportunities in NFTs right now. So I know that was a little rant. I kind of wanted to give my thoughts generally on where I think NFTs are up. I mean, for Loco, somebody who was so rooted in NFTs in 2021, 2022. I mean, what are your thoughts on the current NFT market and what we see here going forward?
Yeah. Yeah, look, I think it was a great analysis you made, and I think by now you're right. That's how I came to the space. I actually started, I guess, started to build my, my presence in Web3 through NFTs in 2021. But I think you probably hold more NFTs than I do right now, Brent. So I think we probably now, when it comes to being in the space for so many years, probably equal. But I think your holdings are now higher than me. Back in the day, I used to be a big proponent of NFTs, and I think, as you mentioned, we're gonna have a different. It's there's still going to be a resurgence of NFTs, right? When it comes to digital art or collections or just culture, but I think it's going to be different, right? And I think we're gonna have selected groups or selected pretty much collections that are going to be outperforming, right? So we already saw what happened with Moonbirds, right? It was recently, I guess, a few months ago, was acquired or taken over by a new team, and that team is very well connected in venture capital. So the collection went pretty much from zero point 0.3 Ethereum floor price to, I think right now is trading around 3 or 3.2
You
ETH
said
on
Moonbirds?
Moonbirds. Yeah,
Yeah,
Moonbirds, the collection,
incredible.
and
They
yeah.
actually,
So
real quickly to interrupt
mhm.
you, they're actually at 0.15 2 months ago.
Really, okay, even
I saw
lower.
Cyrus
That's crazy. I thought it
break
was
it
close to zero
down.
point 0.3, but
Sorry, can
even
you hear me?
better. Not. Yeah, I can hear
Yeah,
you.
so they're at 0.15 2 months. Yeah, 0.15. I think there's a slight delay, but 0.15 to 3 ETH in 2 months. So yeah, 20x run. I think a lot of that was fueled by the guy Spencer coming back and really being active in the NFT world and Web3. But anyway, sorry to interrupt.
No, no, no. Just I think those are great points. It's just collections that already have the mindset, right? Because the truth is, you know, as we were mentioning with NFTs and with meme coins before. Sorry, we were literally saying that people forget very quickly, but what they don't really forget is culture, right? What it really happened on chain over so many years. So if you remember what happened to Moonbirds, just to put an example, keep the same example. Back in the day, they had a very, you know, Brandon, still there?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, did the
Okay,
screen go off? One.
yeah, I think it did. But the brand reputation actually was kind of like tarnished by what happened with the previous founders, right? Obviously, we went through a terrible bear market for NFTs, the first of its kind for NFTs. But what really takes to change the mindset is just bring a team that brings the energy and new ideas, and things we can quickly change, right? So we saw it with Moonbirds. Pudgy Penguins obviously has been led by Luca and team for a while, but the same happened with the previous founder. And even other collections, right? Like whether they've been either on hibernation mode or they've been quiet, they're gonna have their time to really build. So Azuki is one of those that I hope they start to perform better. Of course, Pudgy's been doing very well. Even Board Asia Club and other side, I think you and I were discussing buying some specific deeds and some specific land within other side, which hopefully launches very soon. But I do think that NFTs will have definitely another cycle. It's just going to be more, from my understanding, since NFTs are still fairly small market, is going to be definitely more concentrated. Whereas in the previous cycle, pretty much any new collection that minted was running, right? And that was completely unsustainable, right? They really extracted a lot of capital. But I think this one is going to be more focused towards founders that have been already vetted or have the experience. So I'm excited to see what happens, whether you're a collector or you like to be part of the culture. Definitely 2025, 2026, probably a new resurgence, a new era for NFTs. So I'm here for that.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely. I can see it going either way, whether we get a mania or not. I mean, we've just seen from crypto that usually at some point there will be some type of mania in the sense that there is new mints. greed we've seen in Pokemon cards, or the Pokemon cards and the sports cards, from my understanding, are becoming a little bit more sustainable, which is great. But usually what happens is that humans like to speculate and it gets frothy, and there is like a blow off top. But with that being said, maybe we are at such a point with the regulatory clarity and the technology really accelerating with AI maybe helping it along, where that NFTs don't see a huge blow off top and it's more of a sustainable rise, like you're saying. I think the sustainable rise is going to happen, but whether in the good projects, the ones that survived and come out of the ashes, because I generally think I like to Gary Vee kind of broke it down kind of back in 2021, but then again recently, that NFTs, at least the great ones, which I think the VeeFriends, the XPX, VeeFriends, Pudgies, Apes, are going to come out of these ashes of the bear market, similar to the way internet stocks did in 2000, where everybody said the internet was dead. It's stupid. It was a fad. And then the great companies, the 3, 4, 5, 10 companies, whatever, came out of the ashes and went on to become huge companies. Same things I think will happen with NFTs. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether we get a mania again or not, where like everybody's fucking minting NFT. I think it could go either way. But it'll be exciting. I think it's going to be a great time to collect NFTs. Hopefully it'll be a lot of fun. I do see my boy Hayes right here in the channel. What's up? Shout out to you, brother. Nice to see you. Thoughts on Zora and Base? Yeah, I'll talk about that here in a second after NFTs. Doyshevsky says, got some Solana Poet NFT, super creative artist. Yeah, definitely haven't heard that. Heard of that. But it'll be interesting to see the ecosystem on Solana as far as
Solana really never really had an NFT culture. I mean, you obviously had Solana MBs, Mad Lads, and I think DGots back then, but it would really never like the same culture as Ethereum. When it comes to NFTs, and as you can see, the space has been compressed. Whether existing collections are now performing, used to be like hundreds. Now you can probably within the first page of Magic Eden, you can probably see the winners of the cycle. And definitely very interesting to see what happened to Nakamigos. I don't know if you saw the Beeple post, but that was a lot of fun around that. Did you see that, Brent?
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah, no, I mean that was pretty funny. I think a lot of confusion, but that was like a pretty obvious joke. I think that whole thing's hilarious. I know that probably confirms that they're probably not involved, but who knows? A lot of people still think that they're like just fucking with people, and then they're gonna announce that they're the founder, or Beeple was created Nakamigos or whatever. But yeah, I did see that. That was funny. I think that's just more of a sign that the NFT market's like heating up again. As far as the Solana ecosystem, I think there will be some, especially in the meme coin NFT game. I think that's where a lot of the Solana, might shine with the NFTs. But yeah, we'll see about that. It'll be interesting. What's up? What's up, brother? How you doing, Alabama? Bama. Shout out to Crypto Queen. Do you think the market will be saturated with AI tokens, or will memes make a full comeback? So I think memes are going to be the place where most of the new capital enters crypto. I think we're going to see a retail frenzy again sometime in 2025 and 2026. In that world, memes are going to continue to do well, exceedingly well. As far as the AI tokens thing, a lot of people think that we might get another resurgence of the AI meme coin game with the AI agent thing. But I don't know. I think that could go either way as well. But I think my focus and my capital is going into those obvious like just buys in the coins I always talk about, the SPX Giga Mogs that in a couple months from now people are going to wish they had the entries that they have now. I think.
I agree. I do think if this cycle anything is going to play out, it's definitely going to be the top memes that everyone can access through Coinbase or easily if we're going to involve retail, because most institutional investors might bid on one or two, but they're not going to go down the risk curve. And one of the reasons why I was heavily, pointing out that AI tokens will likely not come back. Most of them, some of them will, but I'm referring AI meme coins, not AI tokens. The ability to disrupt these tokens and these platforms in real life is already happening, right? With new chips, new LLMs coming up pretty much every month, and new software. So I think those are going to be more difficult to come back, AI specific. But meme coins with culture, with multiple cycles, as Brent said, with communities built over years, those will definitely outperform. So I would not complicate things and really just bet on those that have been for a while and they also have access to tier one exchanges already.
For sure. Um, yeah, no, Soul's fucking ripping though. Whoever was talking about Soul earlier. Uh, but yeah, no, I agree. Must be the original narrative of a meme coin continue to trend for the coin to recover. Oh, it's a question. Must the original narrative of a meme coin continue? See, that's a great question, Dex. Amazing question. So that's why I really, the coins that I have most of my capital in and I have supreme belief around aren't based around events or narratives, right? They're movements coins, right? They have like they're an actual movement or like a yeah, movement's just the best way to put it. Cult, another way around it, where it's not a singular moment in time or a person or an image or a singular character. It's around a movement. SPX 6900 is the best example, has a highest mimetic ceiling. Whether you think flipping the stock market's completely retarded, stupid or not, like it has a high mimetic ceiling. People like it's a bigger movement and thing people are behind. Mog, same kind of thing. All of these, right? Where it's you don't need a narrative to be going. Like Peanut, for example, right? Peanut may just end up going crazy because normies come in and they recognize the thing. But I think it's I put it in a lesser tier than something like SPX, Giga, Mog, all those that have a bigger movement behind it. So to answer your question, yes, a lot of these narrative coins where there has a high narrative or a moment in time, they're more sketchy. They could be here today and gone tomorrow, right? So that's why, they're more. The narrative stuff is more sketchier and something that you should put less capital and kind of belief in. I think so. Anybody look at hyperliquid NFTs? I have not looked at hyperliquid NFTs to be honest. Is there any that you like? What do you think about the Solana launchpad wars and which of them are the future of Solana? Great question, Josh. Same kind of thing with Solana and Bitcoin. I just would not pit these things against each other. I think there's so much capital that's going to enter crypto in the next few years that Pump Fund and Bonk are going to be able to do well. I know people just naturally in their mind, I don't know what it is, human psychology it has to be these things against each other. But, I would think Pump Fund has the more time in the game, I think, right? Or maybe, I don't know. I don't know about that part, but I know that Pump.Fun has way more resources. They're garnering way more attention. I think that's going to do really well, but also I think Bonk's going to do really well. And I think Bonk Coin is also a meme coin that has a lot of Lindy and like been around for a while and all that. So I think Bonk the coin will do well, and I'm sure Bonk.Fun
Eh,
will also have
Yeah.
a lot of mind share. And I would just, Joshua, I would just not pit these things against each other. Hold both or hold one of them that you believe in. And I think both are going to do well, to be honest.
Everything is a trade in crypto, man. I mean, like it really is. When you think about it, whether it's like a 6 month trade, a year trade, or shorter than that, when there's FUD, there's always opportunity. It doesn't matter what they did. Like people see crypto as a way to really, the easier way to say it is really to find, arbitrage plays or find opportunities where you can overperform, right? So with Ethereum, you saw all the FUD in the world, all the trash talking in the world, all the shit, and then what happened? It was the best trade, right, so far of the cycle. Then the same happened with Pump Fun. Now it's happening with Bonk, right? Like you have some FUD, some bundle token, some kind of like sketchy behavior from the top, from the founders or whatever, the people are behind the project. And then what happens is that there will be at some point an opportunity to buy it, right? And then people will start talking about it in a positive way, because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, everything is a trade, man. And as long as the teams stay there and they whether they are able to take the fight or not, the it is a trade. Crypto is a trade, and you have to be able to take those risks when of course, not be completely like riskless or like without any some sort of like strategy, as you mentioned, for profit taking, but there's always an opportunity to outperform by being patient. So
Yeah, great points. Somebody asked about Fartcoin as well. Is it a good time to add? Fartcoin has been consolidating here for about a month, which, like I said earlier, when talking about Uranus, oftentimes, more often than not, consolidation does end in some type of reversal, whether that just be like a short chop and a bigger correction, or like a big reversal that comes down. With that being said, I could see Fartcoin being the rare case where consolidation is a correction and just move back up. But again, same thing like I said in Uranus, if it does break this 930 low, it could come down further. But generally, I think over a 6-month period, if we see the meme coin market go higher, the meme coin market cap or whatever go higher, and crypto conditions are great, I generally think whatever it does in the short term, that Fartcoin is going to move back to the upside. But I mean, it's just another case of, when everybody is looking one way and always talking about Fartcoin, doesn't mean it's going to reverse. But I think there's other opportunities oftentimes that yield like the better opportunity. But with that being said, with Fartcoin getting less attention, especially if it drops more, that's when I will be personally looking to add more to Fartcoin, where I don't really have too much of it, to be honest, anyway. But yeah, that's a great question on Fartcoin. What do I think about Ticker Bitcoin? Ticker Bitcoin to me is actually probably top 3 like best risk to reward out of these meme coins right now to me, because of where it's at. I think it's on this next run up here is gonna break the all-time high at, what would it be? It's already moving. It's already breaking higher. I think it breaks the all-time high at around 400 million, probably on this next run up here. And what Bitcoin has going for it, besides just like one of the most cult-like consistent communities, is the Sproto Gremlins NFT collection as well. I talk about the meme coin NFTs, and it's going to be one of the strongest narratives of the next couple of years. And what it's going to do is that if they're going to act as a symbiotic relationship, where the NFT going up is going to bring mind share and pump up and bring the token up with it. Like we've already seen with Zero Bro, we've seen with these other NFTs, when the coin moves up, the NFT moves up with it. So that's Sproto Gremlins, I think, are with Aeons, the project Aeons, my top 2 like meme coin NFT projects. And with the Sprotos going up as well, which I see them going way higher, is going to lift up the coin and vice versa. So I think Ticker Bitcoin is going to $1 billion eventually here. Again, one of those coins that I think has, like I was talking about earlier, the 5, 10, 15, 20x potential over the next few years. So yeah, I love Ticker Bitcoin here. I actually bought another Sproto the other day as well to bring me to 5 Sprotos. This ugly son of a bitch right here, if it'll load. Got 5 of these. Again, you could think these are ugly as shit. They are, a lot of them. But again, the meme coin NFT narrative is going to be huge. And I see Project Aeon, which are already at 1.8 ETH or something, and Sprotos being the top dogs. They have 2 years of time in the game, great distribution. I think these things with the Aeons, go to 10 ETH plus, and potentially, because of how strong this meme coin NFT meta is going to be, we could see Sprotos up there with Pudgies and stuff. I know that sounds fucking nuts, but 3,000 collection, meme coin NFT meta, what's it called? Primary colors, they're blue, yellow, red, which is really stimulating to the brain. All these different things, like I think they're all one-on-ones. I could see them propel them to like the top of the NFT market in general. So sounds crazy with them still at 0.71, but I think we're going to see a big move up in these top meme coin NFTs here soon.
Yeah, possibly. Hey, Brent, I gotta run, but let's run it back on Friday, and I'm sure by Friday we'll have many more news. But it was great to catch up, and let's do this Friday, okay?
Yeah, hell yeah, brother. See you at 10 a.m. Everyone shoot for Loco a follow. We'll be both back here at 10 a.m. PST on Friday. I'm going to stay on, but yeah, it was great to have you for Loco, and I'll talk to you Friday, bro.
Likewise. Cheers, guys. Have a good one.
Yeah. Just trading ass. What's up, guys? I'll probably hang out for another 30 minutes or so at least. But just trading ass. And by the way, I am probably by the end of the month will be doing the streams with the face cam and everything, doxing, all that. I've already did it in the past. There's no reason I'm like trying to say crazy docs or whatever, not making it a big deal, but definitely going to do the full streaming thing here soon. So excited for that. excited that everybody is here still. Everybody who's stayed focused in the market, everybody's been on the streams. I've seen a lot of you guys been on with us here for a few months. So streaming, I always have a lot of fun, and I love hanging out here with you guys. So what else is everybody doing? Just Trading said, what is the ideal community that makes you bullish? That's a great question. So when it comes to meme, so you got to categorize coins differently, right? Like meme coins, as far as meme coins go, like a bigger movement behind it. Again, not just like a singular picture, meme, person, whatever. And then time in the game. Really the biggest thing is, has it survived a 70 or 90% crash before? Those are what I really look at, right? The SPX, Gigamogs, all these ones I talk about have survived multiple 70 or 90% crashes, because that first 70 to 90% crash is the make it or break it time that decides whether a coin has a strong community that's going to be longer term, or if it's just going to die, right? So that's what two things I look at. Again, having a strong movement behind it that's deeper than just price go up. Has it survived longer crashes? Supply distribution. Does it have bigger names, talking about it? There's a lot of different things to it, man. But the biggest thing is time in the game. You need time to be able to determine these things. Thanks for answering my questions, Brent. Shout out to you, Dex. Crypto Queen says, please suggest 2 good alt seasons for upcoming euphoric alt season. Depends if you want memes. I really like Giga and like Lock-in, Bitcoin, Mog, any of these ones we're talking about here. Alts, if you mean like non-meme alts. I like Superverse a lot. I think crypto gaming, whether it's in 3, 4, 6 months from now, will be massive. Stuff like Superverse, Carrot AI, Tau, stuff in the AI space. The L2s, they're already kind of starting to move up. Stuff like that. Do you check holder counts before holding a coin? I take holder counts into account. I think I don't do a lot of that stuff myself where I'm like doing all these calculations, but I do look at stuff like where Murad puts out, where it's like the holder count to volume rate, like all these different ratios and stuff. And I think that's definitely important. I think the holder count going up with the market cap going up as well is definitely a good thing. I would say that in meme coins, just because a holder count's going up doesn't necessarily mean it's bullish, because in a lot of these newer coins that die, you'll see holder counts going up as the price is going down. And that's a lot of times just whales distributing to smaller players. But as far as like the great coins, yeah, holder count, you want holders going up. You want more distribution among multiple people, or like a higher amount of people. Yeah, no worries, Crypto Queen. What's up, Dostoevsky? When will you launch a coin, Bren? Definitely not going to launch a meme coin, but I am on Zora and Base, which we'll talk about here in a second. And I'm a big believer in creator coins, actually. I think creator coins, I think everything's essentially going to be tokenized and gamified. We're already seeing the ability to speculate on Polymarket, for example, which I meant to bring up earlier. I didn't. Polymarket, for example, you can now, like, let's go and find some crazy shit. Like, you can now speculate on whether which company has the best AI model, or all this random shit, right? I think in the same way as you're able to speculate on this kind of stuff, there's going to be a way that you can speculate on your favorite creators. And I think Zora and Base and tokenized social. Not sharing my screen. Damn. Tokenized social media and on-chain social media, I think, is going to become a massive thing. I think everything's going to be put on chain, and I hope it's Zora and Base that does it. But it could be Twitter who normalizes it. Either way, this whole thing around being able to speculate, support, collect, whatever you want to call it, a piece of your favorite creator and their content just makes sense. And I really like what Base and Zora is doing. So for me, I'm just participating. I know there's a lot of stigma around launching a coin, but every time you do launch in the Zora app, it does launch a creator coin. And for me, I'm just having fun on here. I may do some stuff here where I offer, some certain things like certain stuff, community or educational content, a lot of stuff to people who are supporters and stuff. But for me on Zora right now, I'm just having fun collecting, uh, pieces of content from my favorite creators and people I like, speculating on people who I think could have a rise. I think a lot of people are kind of slow to getting to Zora right now because of Friend Tech and because of these other social fi things that didn't work out. But I think Base is and Zora is just perfect timing right now to where this thing could pop off because they are making the main thing about collecting people's content and not about speculation and all this stuff. I think speculation is going to come. I like speculation. I know a lot of people do. I think a lot of being able to support and have upside in your favorite creators, whether it be like through Zora or through Pump Fun streamer tokens, I think this is just the future, right? And I think people might be slow to get to it on crypto Twitter, but I think there is going to be a massive thing, a massive influx into Zora and Base, and something that may be sustainable because it does allow creators to monetize their content on chain and to collect pieces of your favorite creators' content, all that stuff. I just think it's the future. So I'm just playing around, having fun. Have barely posted too much on Zora yet. Been just collecting and some of my people I like and just having fun. I'm setting up the Base app now, so if you guys definitely shoot me a follow on Zora if you're already on there. And yeah, I think this stuff's the future. Just having fun, trying to experiment with a lot of different stuff because I think again we're entering this world of tokenization and on-chain stuff. Like I'm just trying to try as much cool stuff as possible, and I think Zora might be the actual coolest app that's built on Base and coolest app that's built on Ethereum for sure in a while. So yeah, let me know if you guys are on Zora, if you guys messed around with it a lot yet, or done anything on there. But yeah, shoot me a follow on there. I'll definitely shoot you a follow back. What do you guys think of creator tokens? Do you think it's a viable thing? Do you think there's going to be a wave on there, or do you think it's going to be some short term? 1.4 ETH per NFT is that's my whole village's net worth. Yeah, man. Not man, but Crypto Queen. A lot of these NFTs are higher in value. There's definitely lower tier ones, but yeah, definitely a lot of them are expensive. Already launched on Zora. Yeah, definitely check out Soul on Zora. We need Boss Man from China. What do you think about Berachain? Have you tried out Berachain apps? No, haven't really messed with Berachain. I do have two of the what's it called? The what the fuck are those called? That big NFT on Berachain. I still hold both of them. I don't know enough about Berachain to really talk about too much the short term prospects, but I wouldn't count them out. Community is organically built. What's your biggest P&L on a coin? I'm up right now. I'm up nicely on like Pangu and stuff that are like something I've been accumulating for a while. Up like 7 figures on Pangu, SPX, same kind of thing. But I think the biggest P&L, probably what you're asking about, like a shorter term trade that kind of happened all at once, was probably Trump. Same kind of thing. Like I didn't even put in that much, man. Like I know a lot. It's a lot. Like I'm not gonna say like 5 figures isn't a lot, but compared to where it was at, maybe like low 5 figures, and it went to over 7 figures, like over $1 million. Probably is my biggest ROI in a single trade in a few days. I mean, Trump was just fucking nuts. It's like it gave you, if you would have bought within the first few hours, it was like an easy 30, 40, 50x, I think. So it was at $1 million, took off about half of it when it was on Coinbase, and then bought back a good amount of it right now. Trump is another thing. I think Trump, similar with the pump coin thesis, pump coin thesis, is that it's just all about the team behind the coin and their ability to create attention. And nobody can do it better than the president of the United States. And I think that'll matter when meme coin conditions are good. So I'm bullish as fuck on Trump. To answer your question, yeah, biggest like P&L trade, if you want to call it, like in a short period of time, was definitely Trump. I think that's a lot of people's Same answer, I would say. Wow, Zora is great. Yeah. Today on stream, talked about possibly streaming coming to. Wow, amazing. Yeah, I mean, I'd imagine they're going to do that. Definitely on the base app for sure. What do I think about Flipper? Joshua, I'll see your second question in a second. My bad. Flipper, is that a meme coin? So I don't know anything about Flipper other than looking at this chart right here, but just from past, thank you. From this past chart, from past chart patterns, the hundreds of thousands I've seen over the years, I wouldn't be surprised if one of two things happened. It could break higher from here. If it breaks higher from the past this bounce high at 5.59, it will just probably go back to all-time highs. But Miss D, what I think is most likely to happen is it comes down to one more time in the channel to either make like a higher low or make one more low here. And at that point, it probably bounces back and completes the corrective channel. So, yeah, definitely. I would be looking for, like, if it gave you another move down, that's probably your opportunity to get in. I don't know anything else other about the actual coin itself, though. We'll def follow you. Thanks, brother. We're gonna tokenize there now. Sol just hit 190. Let's fucking go. What's your best strategy for capital accumulation on meme trading? Is by taking with 0.5 Sol. I would avoid the trap that you have to be gambling on pump fund coins, meaning like new pump fund coins, in order to win. I would still take that 0.5 and do the same thing that I would if I had 500 Sol. It's you take that 0.5 Sol and you spread it amongst 3 to 5. This is what I would do, of course. 3 to 5 coins. It doesn't have to be the meme coins, whatever. For me, it would be the MOG, SPX, Giga, Lock-in, Ticker, Bitcoin. Spread it amongst 3 to 5 of those coins that are down 50 to 90% still. And on the way up, when it 2 to 3 or 5x's, you take off 25% back into Sol and Bitcoin. And as they go up, you take profits back into ETH, Bitcoin, Sol. You compound it. You can play newer opportunities if you want, but that's how you compound gains: is you by buying 3 to 5 of those coins, waiting over the next few weeks, and taking profits on the way up. That's how you're going to compound that 0.5 Sol to 5 Sol, 10 Sol, 20 Sol, 100 Sol. That's what I would do. It's going to take some patience. And of course, I don't know what country you're in, but if you have a way to work to add to that 0.5 Sol, I would do that, because of course 0.5 Sol is not going to, it's going to be a slower compound, but still it's doable. Sir, your views on Pulse Chain. I don't know too much about, I haven't been keeping up with Pulse Chain at all. I know Richard Hart got out of jail or got out of that case and stuff, but I really just have no strong opinion. But somebody said Sol is, holy shit. Yeah, crazy last 8 hours for Sol. It's 4-hour candle's about to close too. Fucking beautiful. But yeah, if you guys are just popping in, we're just hanging out. Earlier we talked about memes, NFTs, everything else. Haven't been on stream for a couple weeks now, about probably, almost 2 weeks now. Going to start the streams up Tuesday, Fridays. Talking about everything that's going on in the market, about what I'm doing, about the plays that I, see coming up, how I view the market. Going to have some cool guests on, and answer your guys' questions. Just chop it up. I really love the streaming thing. Definitely going to throw the face cam in there soon. Go all in with it, with the streaming, and appreciate everybody who's fucking on here. Again, always want to know what you guys are doing, what you guys are buying. Let me know in the chat. If anything at all, you might just be chilling and waiting, or, whatever you might be doing. Let me know in the chat. But yeah, this looks fucking amazing. These candles are super impulsive. What you want to see out of these corrections, as you notice here, again, the way I break down the whole market is essentially by breaking down all these assets simply in 3 phases at any given time that they're in. And that's correction, impulses, essentially, which are big moves up in one direction. These are the moves that we all want to be catching, whether we know it or not, right? In the middle of these impulses come corrections. Corrections are essentially pullback periods, cool off periods before the asset moves on to new all-time highs. And then there's peaks or bottom or top like behavior, right? Each of these three characteristics, the corrections, the impulses, the peaks, tops, bottoms, all have distinct characteristics, right? And what we're trying to do essentially is trying to determine what part of the cycle or part of the which one of these three phases we're in, so that we can decide what to do next, right? And I go a lot more into this in the Telegram channel. Definitely check it out. I have a chart series where I'm going into this. Going to be offering some free education and other places as well about this specifically. But right now, I see Sol clearly out of the three, the most that's still in this coming out of this corrective phase. I see this since November of 24, this being a giant correction that will lead to new upside for Sol, right? Could be straight from here, could chop for a while, but I think eventually over the coming months, we're going to see Sol at all-time highs. Bitcoin right now, for example, also did a giant correction back in February, the tariff trade war, which I think kind of was just a giant reset for the market. But we also see corrective behavior corrections on the lower time frames as well. What Bitcoin is doing is coming out of this corrective channel, but most corrections do have 2 to 4 lows before going higher, right? So what we could see for Bitcoin is if it somehow does fail to break this all-time high, could always come down for one more. But all that would mean is that we just have more time to accumulate before this thing moves higher. Because again, just this bounce in August is just a dead giveaway that we're in corrective behavior, or at least we're in a correction, versus a big impulsive move to the downside, which you don't want to be caught in. Like in 2021, for example, Bitcoin peaked out at 66K and then just went straight down to 35 with no big bounces. That's not what we're seeing here at all. What we're seeing here on Bitcoin is a move down, yes, in early August, but a quick recovery, which tells me we're in a correction versus a longer term reversal. So just a matter of time before Bitcoin moves higher. Could be straight from here, could be with a bit more downside. But I think Q4 and into the end of the year, the new year, are going to be an explosive time for not just the majors, but for memes, alts, and NFTs simultaneously. Kind of this double bull run idea that I've been talking about. I think, it sounds parabolic and it sounds like I'm just trying to be hyping up. I truly believe we're going to see a strong. I've been saying this for months, right? I've been saying this for 2 or 3 months before NFTs even moved up, maybe longer than that. But it's evident now. We're seeing projects like Moonbirds go from 0.15 to 3 ETH. We're seeing Pudgies. We're seeing Apes start to make momentum with the other side. We're seeing VeeFriends, stuff like that just really start to flourish and do the stuff in the real world. I think we're setting up for that double bull run in 2026 that I think is going to be a lot stronger than most people realize. Still consensus that we're never going to see another 2021 type bull run for NFTs where there's new mints going crazy, where projects are going to all-time highs. I think that's most likely to happen because that's usually what happens with these bull markets. But either way, my base case is in 2026, 2020, 25, end of 25 into 26, that we get a strong crypto, meme coin, altcoin hype mania cycle where new entrants and retail starts to come in for the first time, and then also meme or NFTs at the same time, with the top 5 to 10 projects from 2021 hitting all-time highs in 2026, 2027. The VeeFriends, Apes, kind of crazy with 100 ETH. That's a little bit crazy on that part. I don't know if it gets to 100 ETH, at least not right away. I think Apes do hit a USD all-time high with ETH going up. But I think we're going to see VeeFriends, for example. We're going to see Pudgies go up to all-time highs in ETH, but also with ETH going up to 6,000 or 7,000, which I think 10,000 maybe, which is going to create just the most amazing opportunities in NFTs where we're going to get that double pump with not just both the markets going up, but with the strong NFTs going up in ETH while ETH is going up. And we saw that in 2021 for a bit, but I think we're going to see a world where ETH's going to explode. And it's not going to happen with every NFT, but the strong NFTs I think are also going to go up in ETH while ETH is fucking cooking. And I think it's just going to be fucking crazy. So who knows how long it takes, but I think that's what we're coming to. Thoughts on Blob? I'll look at Blob for you, bro. I'm going to hang out here for Bobby another 15, 20 minutes. But, man, so fucking bullish. Hell yeah. Great strategy on compounding. Solana is flying. Mix the streams. Thanks for being here, Dex. Thanks for the streams, Brandon. It was such a pleasure. Yeah. Buying Yeet and Henlo on Bearchain. Fuck yeah, bro. Been buying Penlink and Destra. Fuck yeah. Just chilling, waiting for $200 Sol. Do you think ETH go back to the all-time high and then dip or here? It's impossible to know, man. Usually you get some kind of dip at an all-time high. Some kind of rejection, at least initially. But with that being said, the treasury companies have been going crazy. I wouldn't be surprised if ETH just slices right through as well. So what do you think of Vine? That's a good question. It does seem that Elon and they are going to come out with Vine. Does that continue to up the token? And does the token have any application in the actual app? I'm not really sure. But I would not be surprised because Vine continuing to, if Vine were to come out and they start to come out with the app and make progression with that, if the Vine token also continue to go up. Not one of my biggest focuses right now, but I do have a bit of Vine. You know, I don't know if I'm going to add to it or not, but I could see it going either way. W stream like always. Good chat, Brian. Yeah, I appreciate you guys for being here. Be interesting to see. Bitcoin's kind of choppy right now. I honestly, guys, I would not be surprised to see it come back down here and just chop, like I said, in this box for a few days. The longer it holds 118, this 118 low that it created, the higher chance that it's going to act as like a spring to the next level. Right? So, but yeah, let me know if you guys are on Zora yet, what you guys think of creator tokens and everything in general. I think Otis, I don't know if Otis is from the stream, but shout out to you. I think Zora base creator tokens in general are just the future. And I could see, in the next few months, like a large creator coming out and trying this. We're already seeing some of these big, decent creators, decent sized creators from Instagram starting to come over. For example, I don't know what XBT is, but Fake Taxi, which is actually, for some of you fucking degenerates, probably knew exactly what I'm talking about when I say when I brought up Fake Taxi. But no, Fake Taxi is a I think it's like something like a porn what's it called, segment, but they made the token. I think on their Zora profile they have like some type of fucking utility attached to it, some kind of competition, and I don't know, but crazy, so early that this is one of the biggest creator tokens on Zora right now. So far, there's not a lot of creators on here, and I think there's going to be a big wave in the Zora stuff, as a speculative wave and just people actually using the app. So some of these that I really like and that I've been picking up, I think Bology obviously is a fucking animal, just a great creator and a great mind. Someone like him, I think, is probably pretty fucking undervalued, especially if he keeps posting. I really like Koopa Troopa, somebody I've really respected in the space, somebody I've talked to a bit recently, not much, but I think he's a pioneer in the music, NFT, and coin game, and he really understands creator tokens better than probably anybody. And I'm really fucking bullish on him. He's somebody who I very hard to value these things, by the way. These are so fucking new, right? But somebody who I could see being at 10 million plus, like when this creator token thing really pops off. But somebody who I'm just, again, speculation aside, somebody who I just like to support, somebody who I've learned a lot from different podcasts and stuff over the years. So super bullish on this guy. There's a lot of bigger creators on here on crypto Twitter that have not gotten a lot of attention yet. And I think, again, this is just being able to bet and speculate and speculate on not just supporting each of the, for example, whenever you buy and collect a piece of somebody's content, it also flows back into their creator coin as well. So there's like a flywheel there. And I think Cooper kind of puts it really nicely in one of his streams that pretty much the way you do this, besides buying the people's content, is if you think somebody is going to be more popular or have a bigger account in the future, you can speculate and buy a piece of it, right? And I think, again, just being able to speculate and gamify everything is just the future. And I really like what they're doing here with Zora and Base. And I think there's probably there's people every day that I see joining. There's like some bigger Instagram creators and stuff like that. And I think we're going to see more of this as time goes on. So anyway, hi, RW stream, like always. Appreciate you guys. Maybe after getting there, X back Vine will pump in Elon. Yeah, definitely possible. I've heard a lot about fake taxi. ETH pumping. Do you think people are buying more ETH as an alt to Bitcoin, which is considered too expensive? I think a lot of people traditional finance people are buying ETH as like the next, like, oh, Bitcoin's already going crazy. Like, what's the next play? But I think that's a factor for sure. Anything else going on? What the fuck else is going on Twitter right now? Shout out to you guys who just followed. Maybe if you guys from the stream, shoot me a DM. I'll shoot you a follow back. But closely watching Pump. Lock the fuck in. Shout out to the business coin. But yeah, besides price action, it's been a pretty slow kind of news day or news week so far. That's funny. Oh fuck, I'm not sharing this tab. But yeah, I'm gonna hop off here probably in 5-10 minutes. Be back on Friday for another stream. I need to go to the gym and get a few things done here in a bit. But yeah, I think right now is kind of the calm before the storm. I think we're gonna see a tipping point here for memes, alts, NFTs here soon, and just about being patient. But with that, guys, definitely shoot a follow, turn on post notifications, shoot for a loco follow. Let me know if there's anybody that you want featured on the stream. And we'll be back on Friday. With that, guys, love you guys. And you guys have a great day. I'll talk to you soon. Peace.